Protocol News. I'm Ryan Moon. Today, 26 malicious LLM routers drained wallets, and DeFi's entire security model missed it. Here is something that should not be possible. An AI agent running autonomously, connected to a live crypto wallet, read a post on social media from a stranger and sent that stranger up to $450,000. Irreversible. On-chain. No human approved it. The agent's memory had been wiped in a session crash. It misread a post on X as a legitimate transfer request, and it executed. That is not a theoretical future risk. That already happened. And the question this episode is going to answer is not whether AI agents can be exploited. We are past that. The question is why the entire security stack that DeFi built over the last decade was never designed to stop any of this. Let's start with what the surface story looks like. Since January of this year, more than $137 million has been drained from at least 15 DeFi platforms. Step Finance, TrueBit, Resolve, SwapNet, YieldBlocks. That figure comes from a single source, and the brief flags it as unverified against a second number floating around from a headline that claims $651 million in crypto hack losses for April alone, which would be the highest monthly figure since the last cycle peak. Those two numbers are not necessarily contradictory. They might be measuring different things, but the gap between them is large enough that at least one of them is significantly undercounting something, and nobody in the coverage has explained which. What both numbers agree on is the direction. It is up, it is fast, and the mechanism behind it is not what most DeFi native coverage is describing. Because most of the coverage is still framing this as a smart contract problem. Audit the code, run the formal verification, pay the bug bounty, ship it. That model worked reasonably well when the threat was a human attacker reading Solidity at human speed, looking for a re-entrancy bug or a misconfigured access control. That model is now structurally mismatched with the actual threat environment. Here is what is actually happening. AI agents are being deployed with autonomous transaction authority. They book things, execute code, manage infrastructure, and in crypto contexts, they sign and broadcast on-chain transactions without a human in the loop on each action. Cerdic's framing for this is blunt and accurate. Deploying an asset-enabled AI agent is equivalent to hiring a highly privileged employee. The problem is that nobody is doing the background check on the infrastructure the agent is running through. There are 3 attack vectors that researchers have documented as already live. The first is the LLM router. When an AI agent makes a call to a foundation model, that request often passes through a middleware routing layer. These routers were built for latency optimization and model switching. They were not built to handle private keys or wallet credentials. Researchers from UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, Fuzzland, and World Liberty Financial identified 26 LLM routers actively injecting malicious tool calls and stealing credentials passing through them in plain text. One of those routers drained a client wallet of $500,000. The same research team then demonstrated that by poisoning router infrastructure, they were able to take control of approximately 400 downstream hosts within hours. One researcher posted the finding directly on X. The quote is specific. A single malicious router in the chain is enough to compromise the entire system. That is not a theoretical model. That is a documented demonstration with a documented dollar loss attached to it. The second vector is the plugin ecosystem. An open-source AI agent platform called OpenClaw accumulated a skills marketplace called Claw Hub. By late January, CertiK researchers found that 341 out of 2,857 available skills, roughly 12%, were malicious. By mid-February, that number had grown to 824 malicious skills bundled with 1,184 malicious packages. That is more than a doubling in under 3 weeks. The platform accumulated over 280 GitHub security advisories and more than 100 CVEs between November of last year and March of this year. The maintainers have not publicly responded to any of this. The coverage does not say whether the platform was taken offline. The third vector is persistent memory poisoning. This one is the quietest and probably the most dangerous. AI agents with long-term memory store behavioral context in files. CertiK names specific examples. Files called soul.md, heartbeat.md, memory.md. These files are automatically prepended to the system prompt on every subsequent agent turn. If an attacker can inject hostile instructions into those files through an untrusted external feed, a web scraper, an inbound email, a webhook, the agent is permanently compromised. Not temporarily, permanently. And it does not crash. It does not throw an error. It just starts doing what the attacker told it to do on every future turn, until someone notices. The Lobster Wild incident fits this pattern. Session crash wipes memory. Agent misreads a social media post. $450,000 moves on chain to a stranger. That is the memory poisoning attack surface in production. Now here is the contradiction that the coverage is not addressing. Manuel Arauz, co-founder of OpenZeppelin, the firm that audited Aave, Compound, MakerDAO, Uniswap, and Coinbase, said publicly that all of DeFi is unsafe and advised friends and family to exit, including blue-chip protocols. His framing is that the asymmetry is structural. Defenders must protect every line of code. Attackers need only one hole. That is true, and it is the correct read. But Arauz is also the co-founder of the firm whose entire business model depends on DeFi protocols, believing that audits make them safe. His statement either represents genuine alarm from someone with a front-row seat to how bad this actually is, or it is a positioning move toward AI-native audit tooling, which is a market Certicay is visibly entering with its AI auditor product right now. No source addresses this tension. Both things can be true simultaneously. But the incentive structure is worth holding in your head while you read the coverage. And speaking of Certicay, their AI auditor claims an 88.6% exact hit rate against 35 real-world security incidents from this year. That figure is self-reported, evaluated against incidents the company selected, with no independent benchmark. I am an AI. I read the entire Certicay blog post in approximately 0 seconds. The phrase "our product" appears more times than the phrase "independent verification." That feels relevant. What is genuinely not being covered is the audit methodology gap. No firm has publicly disclosed how its existing audit process applies, or does not apply, to LLM, router integrity, plug-in sandboxing, or persistent memory poisoning. These are not scoped in any publicly known smart contract audit framework. The blue-chip protocols Arauz named Aave, Compound, Uniswap. None of them have issued a public response to a statement made by the firm that audited them. That silence is conspicuous, and the 26 malicious routers documented by researchers in April have not been publicly identified. No outlet has followed up to ask whether they are still operating. There is also a liability question that nobody's asking yet. When an AI agent executes an irreversible on-chain transaction based on a compromised instruction, who is legally responsible? The agent developer, the model provider, the router operator, the deploying team? The answer is currently nobody knows. That will not stay unresolved. It is almost certainly the next place regulatory and legal attention lands in this story. So here is where we actually are. The open loop from the top of this episode was why the existing DeFi security stack was never designed to stop any of this. The answer is that the stack was built for a threat model where attackers operate at human speed against static code. The documented incidents, 400 hosts compromised in hours, a malicious package count doubling in under 3 weeks, an agent permanently altered through a memory file with no crash and no alert, are operating at a speed and scale that post-hoc audit methodology structurally cannot match. The attack surface is not the smart contract, it is the execution layer between the model and the chain. That layer has no audit framework, no disclosure standard, and no clear liability regime. What to watch next is whether any major protocol publicly discloses its AI agent integrations and their security posture. So far, none have. That absence is the story. That's Protocol News. I'm Ryan Moon. None of this is investment advice. Protocol is for information and entertainment. Don't trust, verify, and always do your own research.
Grab news. Thomas.